Welcome back. Today we are very fortunate to have with us as our guest, Mickey Royal. Mickey, how are you today?
I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm doing well. Hey, I wanted to talk to you today because our audience oftentimes uh, write in about lifestyle changes that they've had to go through, things that they've gone through that they've wanted to change. And your story is very unique. Can you tell us where your story started and where it got to today?
The original story starts at age 13. Uh, I'm a former pimp, gangster, drug dealer, pornographer, sex trafficker, you name it, I've done it. Mob enforcer, but it was a natural progression or regression depending on how you look at it, ascend or descend. So I would have to say it started at age 13. And I've kind of done a lot of things. In high school, robbed 3 banks.
You started off way over here and now you're way over here. How does that happen?
Well, it was just a build up along the way, from being desensitized to a lot of things and a lot of activities. And what triggered it is I did the worst thing in the life you could ever do. I developed a conscience by falling in love with someone. And I'd never been in love with someone. I didn't even know what I was feeling. I just thought maybe my body was acting weird. And it turned a narcissistic sociopath into an empath, and I started feeling all the pain I had caused for so long and looking back on things. And then one thing triggers to another, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I started identifying with the other side of the story and the other person on the other side. And and,
Absolutely.
and it changed me from the inside out. You go from basically being a bully to an advocate for people being bullied. And you realize, you what you thought was right was wrong, and what you thought was wrong was right.
Now, you said that
And
this started when you were 13. Can you tell us what was going on in your life that kind of started you down that path in the first place?
I would say the gang life, the allure of it, the power of it, the peer pressure of it. For someone in the sixth, seventh grade, that's just too much to resist. The feeling to belong to something, to being a single solitary nobody to a group of someone. Even though the world is small, but if you exist in a small world and you're a big group, now you're, a big fish in a small pond. And that felt a lot better. That felt a lot better. And it was the first time I've ever felt any power, and you become addicted to it. I say those who seek to possess power soon become possessed by it, and you have a tiger by the tail and you're not in control anymore. And it leads to involving yourselves in things I can't mention and getting shot the next year and eventually drug dealing and up to and including you. I mean, it's very few crimes I haven't committed because I knew I wanted to be a criminal, but I didn't know which kind I wanted to be. So it was just like going to college and looking at the message board like, should I try cat burglar, bank robber, hitman, drug dealer? What's up here that I want to apply for and learn the skills of? It was really like that. You're living in a warped world that you can function in, and you see the outside world as the warped world, and unnatural becomes natural, and what you think is natural is unnatural. You're just in bizarro world, and it just kept going and going and going until you're dealing with New York wise guys in your 30s, and then you like, how did I get here? Everything as far as the sex trade I've been involved in, from pornography, 500 adult films. I've owned adult bookstores. Like even my laid back legal life was still of debauchery and deviancy because everybody I knew was in that world, from people who worked in the warehouse and drove the trucks at like Doc Johnson's or something, to people who were straight up traffickers or call girls. And that was just my world for decades, and it was very normal.
Yes.
Swinger parties and voyeur parties, that was just normal for me. That's everyone I knew, male, female, old, young, black, white. Everyone was involved, so it just seemed so natural.
Now, going back to when you were 13 again, would you say that this was something you eagerly anticipated and pursued, or were you recruited?
I would like to say I was recruited, but no, it was more so influenced. It was just fascinating to me. You're 12, you're 13. I remember one time looking back. Remember He-Man, the cartoon?
Oh, yeah.
I had He-Man action figures in a shoebox with a 22 revolver and bullets. So I had both worlds sitting there. I had a gun and bullets in the same shoebox where my He-Man, I had Ram Man, and I remember the other one like Trap Jaw. So I had my toys and my guns in the same box because I was 13. I'm still a child, but I'm not. And it was the thought of being an adult in an adult world. It was just too enticing.
Now, you said that the thing that got you out of this was falling in love. Can you tell us about that?
I fell in love. I was like, I haven't been with a non-porn star since I was 26 years old. My ex-wife is an ex-porn star, and the woman I was in love with, still am. We've been on and off engaged for 17 years. Yeah, I know. I was directing one of her movies. Now, I've directed a lot of her movies. And in the middle of directing it, I finished the scene. I let him finish. And then when the male talent left, I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, I'm not going to stop your career, and I'll get you as much work as I can. But I can't shoot you anymore. In fact, I won't do any of it anymore. And she said, I only still do this to be around you. I can stop when you are. I said, yeah, I quit. And she said, if you're going to quit, quit it all. Everything that you got going. I said, yeah, I quit. I said, I quit as of now. I'm just going to be a professional writer. I said, now you have to understand our lifestyle is going to change because writers are not known to make this kind of money. I said, but I just can't do this anymore. I said, I just overdosed. It wasn't so much the shooting of the adult film and watching her. I started seeing her in a different light because we went through some human things together outside of work. And we really saw different sides of each other. And it's the first time I ever felt something like that. And it was just building up. And, I've always been in the pain business, either inflicting it, causing it collaterally, or receiving it. And I just overdosed on it. I started seeing it all as ugly. And it was just like a snap, like an epiphany. And I just said, I just can't do this anymore. None of it. I don't want none of it. I said, would you push a basket with me? I said, we might be broke after a while. I said, but I'm just not, I never even thought of going back. I said, I can't. I just don't want this anymore. And some things happened after that. We got out of life. We had plenty of money. I was going to buy some trucks. So my family has a trucking business. We'll buy 3 trucks, 3 trailers, and write books and stuff like that. And I said, we'll live a simple life. And we had a daughter, and she passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And it was real tragic for me. Yeah, she was at home and it was in my arms. And I tell people, I said, you never forget the sound of your child being that sound of the Ziploc bag. I'm standing right there, and I didn't deal with it. I went to prison protecting a woman from an attack, and it's just like I switched into the good guy. I just didn't want to see anybody else hurting anymore. And my violent trigger has always been bullies. But my change had actually come before my actual change. It actually came during that filming that movie. And I had filmed her in like 30 movies. So it wasn't like it was shocking to me.
Yes.
It was just when we had shared something together, we had a very tender moment. After that, I didn't see her the same anymore. And I didn't want to see her like that anymore. I said, all of this, let's do something different.
So the genuine human relationship won out over the lure of money.
Yeah, the money was no longer interesting to me. And really, it wasn't even the money. It was the lifestyle is what I was addicted to and what I enjoyed. Even the violent part of it, I enjoyed all of it. It was like living inside of a movie. It was surreal. And at that point, I was like, this is all crap. And I had trash bags full of money. And I was like, I don't care about it. I just want to hold your hand and kind of walk down the beach for the rest of my life real slowly. And I just changed just like that. And here I am.
Excellent. Hey, Mickey, we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, you've written some books, and I'd like to talk to you about those. So welcome back. We're talking today to Mickey Royal, and he is about to tell us about his new book. Mickey, what is the name of your book?
Well, the title of my book is The Pimp Game Instructional Guide. I have 5 published books, actually. You can buy them on Amazon.com. They're an ebook, printed book, or audiobook.
How is it that you go from pimp and gangbanger to being a published author?
Well, I've always been, my first love was writing. Actually, the first books I wrote were I was 5 years old. I thought writing was going to be my life. And then I fell in love with boxing around age 10. I saw a movie called Rocky 3, and I said, that's what I want to be. And I got into boxing around age 11, 12, and then I got distracted. And I said from age 13 to age 41 when I woke up, but it took a detour. But no, writing has always been my first love. I wrote along the way, you know. I lived in my book Along for the Ride. I actually lived that, and while I was living that, I wrote the Pimp Game Instructional Guide.
Now,
because of what I saw and what I was expecting.
From what I understand, the FBI has taken a certain interest in your book.
Oh yeah, first it was a certain interest in me on 2 federal RICO cases.
I can't imagine why.
And then they started ordering my books, and I noticed that they order the same amount, like every 6 months, the exact same amount. And I asked the lady, I said, "Why do you order the exact same amount?" She said, "Well, I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm with the FBI." And I was like, "Oh, here we go. Another trial." She said, "No, no, no. We use your book as a textbook for our new recruits in the human trafficking division so that we can better get into the minds of human traffickers, because the Pimp Game Instructional Guide is just that. It is an instructional guide. It breaks down the psychological aspects of it because it is a psychological game. It is not as physical as people would say. So it's not a story. It's the step-by-step process. I mean, you don't just take a girl from Walmart Monday and all of a sudden she's a prostitute Tuesday. No, she'll laugh at you. That's not how it happens. There is a conditioning part in the middle part there, and it's all psychological. She said, so we use that and work backwards, and it helps us. And I said, "You guys use my book as a textbook?" She said, "Yeah, for the past 11, 12 years we've been doing this." I said, "Oh, well, thank you." She said, "But we've been buying on retail. Now that we're getting a hold to you, now we can get them wholesale." And I remember hearing that something similar with the Las Vegas Police Department also, using it because it's the only psychological one of its kind, so it helps them. So I was like, "Oh, okay, so you're not going to arrest me?" Like, "No, you're helping us." I said, "Well, bravo." So they use it, and they're in contact with me sometimes because I told them I'm available for seminars. Instead of them breaking down what is in the book, you can actually hire me and I will do this for you. And I can also teach step by step in intricate details. I mean, who better to help rescue sheep than a wolf who laid the tracks? I know where they are. I laid the traps myself. So I can catch them beforehand instead of you dealing with the after effects. Because by the time you come, it's already done. It's one thing to rescue, it's another thing to prevent. Preventing is better. Because by the time you contact the police, the crime has already taken place. Let's try to stop the crime before it takes place. I can help you with that. My favorite story is Along for the Ride. That is an autobiographical account of how Mickey Royal forms the royal family. That's an organized stable of prostitutes working like a Fortune 500 company because they were call girls, which is another word for out call, and escorts, which were in call. Once they came off the street, we kind of went high class, and it was profit sharing. It wasn't me collecting all of the money. This was the organization based on like Charlie's Angels as a model. Or you know what I mean? So everybody was happy, everybody made money, and it's also, and during that book I solved a 6-year-old murder mystery. It starts off one way, but you get to see how I got allured into the life. Along for the ride. They weren't along for the ride, I was. Because I was very new in the beginnings, so I had to be taught. And I hear from everybody that that's their favorite, and it's my favorite too.
What makes that your favorite?
Because it was an exciting time, and I was there. I have another book, a novel, Pimpin' Ain't Easy, but Somebody's Got to Do It. That's a 7-day story. Along for the Ride is a 7-year story. So they're written at a different tempo. But one is I was in my 30s, one I was in my 20s. The one that was in my 20s takes me back to a happier time, actually. Even though it was a lot going on and I got shot, but
there's that.
It was real. Yeah, there's that little thing. But it was real. It was electric, and we were a family. And I mean, it's people say that there's no emotion in it, but it's like two cops. You can have one young, one old, one conservative, one liberal, but if you put them in that car together as partners, and they have to drive for a while, and they have to depend on each other to live, within a year, they're going to be as close as twin brothers. And that's what happened. When you, we start off one way, but when you live with people and they live with you and you internalize and humanize their struggle and they see you from a different light, after years of doing this in this type of organization thing and expanding, you want what's best for them and they want what's best for you. They actually do become your family and you become theirs. And it was just it was such a bonding type thing. It was really intense. It really gets the endorphins going when I even read those pages. Like, wow, I can't believe I'm still alive.
Over all of this, it seems like you had the pain addiction going on. You had these real connections with people, but this was the time of your life that you've described as having so much pain. Is that accurate?
At the time, I was desensitized to it. It caught up to me later, and when I look back on it, that's where a lot of the pain is, because you start realizing sometimes of the collateral damage or collateral effect that it was. It was so real. It's like a Vietnam veteran. He doesn't have PTSD while he's in Vietnam. He's living it. He's in the moment. The PTSD comes afterwards when he goes back home and he reflects. Then you have that moment when you look back and go, what have I done? But during the moment, no. When my uncle tells those stories, he tells stories of the camaraderie and the this and the that. Then a cloud kind of comes over his eyes because there's another part of these stories too. But it always starts off with laughter. Like he remembers this guy, we played a joke on him at the camp, and you know how they step on the flaming bag of poop and stuff. He said, "Yeah, we got him good," and then it gets a little quiet, and he tells other stories. So during the moment and during the time, you don't realize that it's pain. You're feeling something. Keep in mind, even before I started, I had a more violent life as a teenager, so I was already desensitized to that. So as far as I was concerned, this was lightweight compared to what I came from. And it was exciting. I mean, you live in a house with 6, 7 naked, beautiful women who worship the ground that you live on, and it's like, wow, you know, and it really feeds the vanity and the ego. And you just feel like Superman, and they're your center of attention, and they feel like Superwoman, and it was surreal. But you don't look back until you're out of it, until you're out and you have time to reflect. And it's like, wow, I did all of those things. And then you start thinking about the long-term effects on some people because everybody didn't come out with their marbles straight. So that's when that kicks in. But during the time, no, you're just in the moment. It's like one long continuous 26-year day.
Now, the woman who asked you to give up this life, you said that you and she shared something before that. What was it that you shared together?
Well, when I first met her, she was pretty innocent. And we went to an after hours. Now, that's an underground, literally underground. You walk down some stairs. They might have a fake storefront. But when you walk in the store, it's not a candy shop. It's like some stairs down. It's a whole different underground sex world, like in Hollywood. And she was scared to get, because I told her where we were going and the world I was introducing her to, and she was scared. And she said, "I'm gonna sit in the car." And I remember I reached my hand and I said, "Don't be afraid." I said, "You're afraid of those people, and those people are afraid of me, and you're with me." I said, "Take my hand. Trust me, I won't let these bad people hurt you. Stay close to me." And she took my hand and she trusted me. So fast forward, after we had been in this life together and all of that, she said, "You gross a lot of money, but you don't net a lot of money." She said, "I think you spend money like water. It might help you to take some bookkeeping classes, get some accounting classes." I was like, at that point, we were a couple. We just didn't realize it because there were so many other women around, but it was something about us. And she enrolled me into LA Valley College with herself. She said, "I'll go with you." And I remember the first day we sat on the court. Remember, I'd never been to a prom. I've never slow danced with a girl. I was a full time what I was doing. I moved out at 14. I didn't have that normal type of life. So it was like being in that movie Grease. And we were walking and we were laughing and doing human things like chasing each other with flowers and throwing a little grass fight on the quad. And we ate at the cafeteria. She taught me how to register. I didn't know what a syllabus was, never heard the word in my life. She got me, because she had been to college before. And when we got to the class, I froze at the door. And forgive me if I get emotional telling the story. I froze at the door and my lips started quivering. I said, look, why don't you just go in and get the information? When we get back to the house, you can kind of show me and the other ladies and stuff what you've learned. I said, I can't go in there. I'll wait for you right outside this door, I promise. It's only like an hour and a half. I'll wait for you, but I can't go in there. You have to forgive me. And she took 2 steps and she turned around and she stuck out her hand and she said, don't be afraid. Trust me. I won't let these good people ever hurt you again. And I hadn't cried since I was 10 years old. And I started crying. I said, you remember that? That was 6 years ago. And I took her hand and she pulled me into the class. And I had never said it before to any woman. And I sat there and I was crying. I couldn't stop. And I couldn't stop laughing and crying. And I kept telling her, I love you. I can't believe it. I love you. I know what I feel. I love you. And the teacher came into class and she saw me crying like that. She said, look, I don't know what you've heard, but I'm not that tough of a teacher, okay? You don't have to. And everybody just started laughing. And I've told her I loved her every day since then. She's a former adult film star, Cheyenne Fox. And everybody knows us as Mickey and the Fox, because once we left the life, because I knew then I was getting out. Once that happened, it was just like I had to taper down because you still have to make a living. So I started reducing a lot of the activities, just tapering down, figuring out what I'm going to do now. It might be a long life and I'm about to stop this. But it was during that scene when I said, okay, I just quit. I just quit. I just want to spend the rest of my life with you doing something different. All the other women, they can go somewhere. All the activities, it can go somewhere. People who owe me money on the street, you can keep it. Just keep it. Because if I go collect it, that means I'm back in. You just keep it. Consider it a gift. I said, I just want to hold your hand and walk down a beach. But they say write what you know. And I have 30 years experience doing these things from the street all the way up to the Playboy Mansion. So my stories are generated around that. And my area of expertise in the psychological aspect of it is generated around that. The Stockholm Syndrome, we use the frog technique, the lobster technique, the elephant technique. These things are by design. So I figure if you can talk a woman into sex trade, you can also work it backwards and talk them out of it. You just have to say it backwards. If you can tear down someone's self-esteem, you really do have the power to build it up also.
Thank you, Mickey. You have shown the audience here that people can make lifestyle changes and rather dramatic ones. So we really appreciate you spending time with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, my privilege.